Tania, welcome to the show.
That we have not named yet.
Yeah, but we will get a name soon, and I think, but it's great to see you. I think it's about 27 years, I think, since I saw you.
Yeah, 93,
Over
yes.
27 years, 93, you were
Yeah,
at
yeah.
Durgapur. So
Uh-huh.
I think let's quickly, connect the dots from,
Mm-hmm.
well, Durgapur to Detroit. I think I like this expression, connecting the dots a lot. And
Okay.
it's one of my favorite expressions for some reason. And I think, why don't you just give a very quick, walkthrough of your journey since
Okay,
Durgapur?
yeah, since Durgapur, I went back home, and to tell you the truth, those days we were looking for a lot of different, applying to different government related jobs like, NTPC or FCI, like something that's related to electrical engineering and, the different state electricity board jobs, and it didn't work out. So a year later, I went to Hyderabad. I was home for a year, and then I went to Hyderabad, and I started working. I took some classes in computer programming, and I worked for Steven Computers for a couple of years, and then I decided to get married. I would
Okay.
say, yeah.
How soon was
And
that?
a couple of years later, like I was staying in Hyderabad as a paying guest, and met a couple of friends of our classmates there who were working in Hyderabad in those days, and Bharadwaj Bhardu was there at that time, so we connected at that time. And then after that, in 97, in 96, 97, I went I would we would call it, like in these days it's called arranged marriage, but everybody's doing match.com these days, so it's very similar to what we did on those days, understanding, going through ads and meeting people. And finally I met my husband Snehasis, who was finishing his PhD here at Clarkson University, New York, and he completed that and went back. So we probably got married after 2 months after he landed there. And then he was deciding whether to come here. So we came to Boston for a few months, where he was working for a startup called Shiva Corporation. If you see in Microsoft the option that says VPN, that was created by Shiva. So he was working there. I was looking for an opportunity. I started working for a e-documenting company, and then we decided to go back because we both were on H-1 visas, and we really didn't like it. So went back. Moved to Bangalore. He started working for National Aerospace Lab there because he is an aerospace engineer by his undergrad. And I found a job in a software company in Bangalore. And from there, of course, went through a couple of opportunities there. And then again, they were going back to USA, bug bit him again, and he applied for a green card sitting in India, and it worked out.
So
Yeah,
this
so we
was
went to,
so you
this was,
you you did so you got married in around 97 and
yeah, 97, we came to Boston for 6 months, went back in
yeah,
98. And then 98 to 99, we were in Bangalore. And then Bangalore, he applied for his green card in the end of 98. And then beginning of 99, he got it approved. Those days it was, and he applied through something called Alien of Extraordinary Ability. So basically, if you show that you are like a big asset
it's
to the company, yeah.
yeah,
So
he's a
you do.
PhD
Yeah,
aerospace and all
yeah.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so and he was working in the aerospace industry, and he had worked for ISRO before that, before he went
Okay.
for his PhD. So he applied, and it worked out. And we were deciding whether to come back. We could come to this country without an employment opportunity and find a job here, but we didn't want to do that. And since his PhD was in mechanical engineering, he said, okay, let's try Detroit, Michigan, because it's the hub of automotive industry.
Mechanical engineering sounds familiar.
Yes. So then we moved to Michigan in 99 when he got an opportunity. I got an opportunity to work after 2 months later. It was end of 99. The whole millennium thing was going on. So nobody was hiring in December of 99. So January of 99, I started working in the IT branch of a bank where I was trying to, help with coding and things like that. And then that was a temporary work.
You were
And
scared at
then,
that time.
yeah. Yeah, it was, and I learned how to drive on the other side of the road and, trying to drive through snow and understanding the roads and what they call the freeways here. So it was like basically understanding very new things. And we used to have a used two-door Dodge Shadow, which is like, whatever we could afford, staying in a one-bedroom apartment, just like every immigrant does in this country to start off. Even our apartment manager, she saw our 4 suitcases and then she said, "This is all you have," and she laughed at us. So that's how I started. Then I started working for an IT company, basically built by a Detroit native called Carmanos, and he gave a lot of money in this community. So he has like a lot of cancer research facilities that he promoted in those days, and it was a great place to work because it had a daycare if you wanted to go. It had a gym in the building, and so when I got the opportunity to work there, I jumped for it, and I started working there, had great bosses who themselves were immigrants. And my boss was from Ukraine, and her boss was from Venezuela. We still keep in touch, so we still have a very good group of immigrants, and so that's what we did. And then I decided to pursue. I always wanted to pursue my MBA. And so I gave my GMAT when I was 8 months pregnant. And
Yeah.
I gave my interview with the University of Michigan, probably 4 weeks after the baby was born. And I started my MBA working full time when my daughter was 6 months old and finished when she finished kindergarten. So it took me 6 years to do it. And all the time I was working in CompuWare. Then 2008 came and the recession happened in this country. And so I lost my job. It took me a year to get back a job. And my current, I work for the British government agency, which basically helps all these automotive suppliers, the Ford, Chrysler, GM, Nissan, if they want to sell the cars in Europe, we help them certify that. So I started working there. Basically, first they hired me as an engineer to help me with testing and things like that. But then they decided I had a finance background with my MBA. So you are going to do the budgets, you are managing the finances, you have an engineering background, so you understand things, you can work with customers. So that is what I have been.
So your electrical engineering did come handy at some stage, I guess.
Yeah, some stage. I was, yeah.
What was the degree?
The degree, the Americans hire based on your experience, but the British hire based on your degree, still like they do in India. So
Okay.
when he said like I have an MBA from Michigan, that was like I think the first thing that attracted them. And so then I started working with them, and I have been with them for the last 10 years. And in the process of moving from engineering to finance, I also now manage the finance of, we opened a South American branch 5 years ago, so I manage both the North and South American finances. In the process, I got to learn a little bit of Portuguese because all their documentation is in Portuguese. I had an opportunity to visit Sao Paulo a few years ago.
Yep.
I have visited UK a couple of times to our headquarters. And then this is where I have taken work-wise. And my husband has been an engineer at Ford for the last 17 years. He has moved in, at Ford Motor Company. So he has worked for the Mustang program, which was the biggest program he's worked on. And now he's working on forward models. He has worked on the Ford Lincoln limousine. He basically works with brakes and chassis. And he's a very mechanical engineer. He doesn't work in IT field at all. So, so that is what he does.
We have a lot in common.
Yeah. I have a daughter who just graduated high school, and she's going to University of Michigan. She is pursuing, she is thinking about pursuing a degree in public health, because that is what she has been wanting to do for the last 3 years, because she likes science, biological sciences. She hates calculus, so she didn't want to pursue engineering. and she also likes policy. She was very active, like in how the policies are made, she got involved in politics a few years ago, and she does documentaries for a student competition, and so that is what got her interested in pursuing a degree in public health. So that's what she plans to do. Maybe her ideas will change, and it's her life, because
Well,
she's an adult.
How relevant, how topical. Great science,
Yeah, and
public health. I mean, that's
I think so. I mean,
huh?
she didn't. All her college essays were about public health, and
Wow.
we didn't even know it would be such a high demand thing in 2020.
Well, I think I come back to that expression, connecting the dots. I think if you remember the Steve Jobs commencement speech, where he says that you can always connect the dots looking back. What you do today, I mean, you wouldn't know why you're doing it. And I think when you look back, you do figure out and why it happened. So, very interesting.
So that is what I have been doing professionally till now. And my job has been very fulfilling. I didn't realize, but I really like Excel. So that is, I love my reporting and Excel and budgeting and things like that. And I love to, have contractual meetings with my customers. So those are the things I like, and I understand how regulations are. Now I understand why, you have airbags in cars, or these brakes are a certain way, and how the testing happens and things like that. And it has been I didn't even know that such an organization existed in the past. It's basically called homologation. And so I work for a homologation agency. That means you help certify components, automotive components or automotives for different parts of the world. So that's what I do in my day job that pays the bills.
It's a full-time job.
Yes. Okay. Even though I'm working from home for the last 6 months, it is a full-time job. It is, if some days I have deadlines of reporting and budgets to my CEO, and those days it become not a 50-hour week, a 40-hour week, but moreover a 50-hour week. So so that is, it is a full-time day job.
Okay. Sneha, she wrote a book sometime back, didn't he? I mean, what was the book about? I remember reading something.
Yeah, he writes poetry. So he wrote a poem. He wrote a poetry book. He did a collection of poems. It's called A Square Peg in a Round Hole, because it was basically how he felt when he first came here, or sometimes when he feels when he's working with people that don't understand him. So that is why he decided to name his poetry book, and he still writes, and he plans to publish one day a novel that he has written, but it has not come out yet. Okay. My daughter recently wrote, there's something called NaNoWriMo, where you write so many 100 words a day, and you do it through the whole month of November. They had a summer thing like that, and my daughter wrote a futuristic mystery novel, somehow based in Singapore.
Okay.
And she is writing, she's still working through it. She's written 50,000 words, so which is pretty good, pretty decent. Good. Yeah, so we write, all of us write. I still have my poetry blog somewhere.
And
so we all write. Yes, I do have my cooking blog. I have moved all my, my activism and everything from a blog to Facebook these days. So that is, yeah, we all write in the family for some reason.
So you've got to go plate full, yeah?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I think let's kind of talk about current situation very briefly. I mean,
absolutely.
COVID, you talked about working from home, right?
Yes.
And I mean, we sitting here, we read the news of what's happening in the US, and I watch CNN more than Fox News, so I get a different picture. But what's the situation like in your part of the world? I mean, specifically, I mean, to start with your local community and generally, and your views on what's happening in the US.
Okay, so basically, when it started off, we heard a lot of things from the leader of our country, our president, that this was going to go away, and we are taking care of it to make sure it goes away, and then we didn't take it too much seriously. But then it started hitting states, and I think it was first in New York, then it was in Chicago. Chicago is the time my husband was flying back from India. Snehasis was flying back from India. And I think that was the day the first case hit Chicago. And then we had presidential primaries in Michigan on March 10th. And I don't know if it was intentional or if it was like, people can call it a conspiracy, but the first case in Michigan came out on March 11th, the day after the primary. And we all went with our gloves and with our hand sanitizers to vote, because it was my daughter's first election. We could have voted by mail, but this was her first election ever to vote in. So she wanted to vote in person. So we went and voted, and then we just started hearing cases go up. I even had a Excel spreadsheet on how the cases were going up. I think I still have it. I maintained it till end of April.
Love for Excel.
And yes, no, like I thought, I really wanted to know what was happening, and everybody was really scared, and so her school shut down. First of all, Ford said go work from home, and then her school said we'll do everything online, and they stopped it. And for her it was kind of a world coming to an end, because end of senior year, like 12th grade in high school, is the time you want to have fun, because you've worked so hard for the last 4 years. You want to go to parties, you want to enjoy just school, like have fun. Her track and field season had just started, and she hadn't participated last year, so she really was looking forward to it. She ran through like she went to the gym and ran through the whole of winter to just get ready for this track and field season, and she was very disappointed. And then I told my boss that you need to move us home, because this is not, like, I am scared. Like this, there was one of our coworkers who just went to Chicago the weekend before, and he had party with his friends, and he came back, and we really didn't know what was going on and how dangerous this virus was. So we started working from home. Probably my agency started working from home probably March 15 or 16, something like that. And then, we are working. The entire mail was sent to my office, sent to my home, because I deal in finances. So we sometimes have to pay some of the bills. And because I had the finance, everything came to my home, and that had to sit there for 3 days before I could open my mail. And it was scary, and we started ordering our groceries online, and we kept on seeing the Michigan was like really going up and up and up. And we said, the governor needs to shut it down. And I think middle of March, she shut it down. She said, we are going to close things. We are not going to do anything. I think she was very, very diligent in how she handled the whole situation. And that is why we only had, like in the first couple of months, we didn't have that many cases as it could have happened in California and other places. We still have 6,500 deaths in Michigan. And then things were closing up, and we were doing, and then, summer started, May started, and everybody wanted things. End of April, everybody wanted things to open up. So there were some people with literally assault rifles who went to our capital, our state capital, and they literally took the assault rifles and they went into the state government's building, within the building, with guns, and they were like literally threatening to open everything up. They literally went with guns, and that was the most scary thing. And so the militia keeps doing this, and they every couple of months they come out and they want to do a protest, open up, and the cases start going up. And the governor has done a phased opening of the state, and then bars open up and things went up, and then again bars were closed. So now the schools are mostly online, the elementary, the high school, everything is mostly online, but they have left it on school districts. But private schools are still open. Kids are still going to private school. It's a phased thing. And because not everybody is wearing a mask. If you go to my neighboring township, you will see it's business as usual. People are standing in front of an ice cream shop, not wearing masks. And if you do these kind of things, I feel like it is our community's responsibility to bring this virus down. And we talk about herd immunity that comes from a vaccine, but we also need to be responsible citizens, and we need to care for each other. And this is the way we can do it. We just cannot have people are still partying. I'm telling you, people in the Indian community are still having friends at their homes and having gatherings of 5 or 6 families. People are still doing it. And you don't see that on social media a lot, but you keep hearing about it.
Well, I think it's the battle between, a couple of things. One is, till it hits home, till somebody in your very close circle is affected, you don't really think, it's like, okay, it's there, but it will not affect me. That's probably
exactly. We have this, oh, I can beat it attitude, but people are not realizing the devastating. People are saying, oh, the deaths are very low. Every time I see a high school athletic team playing, people are telling me, oh, only 105 kids got sick, or like 105 kids died in the whole country. But 105 deaths are, 105 deaths is one too many. And if somebody gets sick, and most people are asymptomatic, like a lot of people are not getting sick, but the people that are getting sick are having permanent damages done to their body. Their lungs, a 15-year-old's lungs are are behaving as permanently damaged. So what is the price that you're paying for opening everything up? So I think that as first of all, the country is too big. It is not Singapore, or it is not UK, or it is not, it's not a small country that you can shut everything down. And a lot of things happen in this country where it's called a republic. So the states have a lot of control over things. So each state is doing their own thing. Some states are keeping open up, some states. So I think there should have been a national level plan to combat the situation, which never happened. Our president still doesn't wear a mask, and you do these things by example. So if you don't do them, you are just telling the world that it's okay not to wear a mask. And the scientific community has kept saying that the masks are the most important thing to prevent this. And even if everybody in the country,
I thought it was hydroxychloroquine, and
okay. Okay, so I thought we were not joking.
And what about
disinfectants?
Bleach
and disinfectants. Yes. So our president said we can go to the 10. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wire came off. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so basically, so it's so important to follow the, any leader. I think any leader in any community, whether it's a local, state, federal, or even a national, international leader, everybody is not a master of everything. You don't know everything about the biology, or I don't know everything sometimes about government, but we rely on experts to tell us what is the most important thing that works or doesn't work. And this has been constantly, I think Dr. Anthony Fauci, who was the CDC person who was advising, I don't think he was the CDC head, but he was advising.
Not even now? I thought he is still there. Or has he been fired?
I don't, to tell you the truth, I don't watch the press press conferences anymore, because I personally think it has become more political than actually talking about the health issues. And so I just see the news and see what is going on, how much has our state opened or how much has this state opened. So that's what we have going on. And I think we could have done a way better job. And I really don't know when this is going to go back to normal in this country. And it will going to get worse, because fall comes, all the older populations get influenza, or the flu, and we will all get our flu shots. My daughter already got hers. We probably will get it in the next couple of days. But the influenza will hit the older population really bad, and on top of that, COVID is going to hit, and so things are just going to get worse in the winter. And so I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. I go to this university where I try to drop my daughter off. There are kids that are still partying. You would wonder that kids going to universities would
Well,
be
I saw
responsible.
something yesterday on CNN. I think it was in Ohio. I think the kids were, they were infected people who were still partying. So yeah,
I heard that. And it has happened here too, in Michigan State University, which is based in our state capital, Lansing. It just came out today that there was so much partying happening in the fraternity houses that there were 382 cases from them. So they probably have asked the whole city of East Lansing to quarantine where Michigan State University is based. I just heard it on the news this afternoon. And I'm worried that even University of Michigan will have the same issues. They're not doing enough testing. There's not enough testing. There's no contact tracing happening. The tracing is all voluntary. So when we go to work, if we go to work, we have to fill out a form and get out. Ford has more.
Is it a problem of too much freedom?
Yes, it is. It is a problem of too much freedom, but at the same time,
and less responsibility. More freedom.
I would say, yeah, but this is you also have to see the other side of things. So basically, businesses are affected really bad. Like people, a lot of businesses which have been in this community for 20, 25 years have shut down. Restaurant workers, they get paid minimum wage in this country, which is like whatever they get paid, that is the amount that get taxed. That they get taxed on. So basically their wage is zero. So the only way restaurant workers make money, and I was part of helping with a petition 2 years ago with this, is through tips. So do you understand, when restaurants close down, these people literally don't have money to pay the bills, don't have money to pay rent, and these people are probably the most underpaid people in the country. So it has affected a lot of people. The unemployment rates have gone up. A lot of companies have shut down. A lot of service-oriented businesses have shut down. So restaurants have taken a really big hit. The food industry has taken a really big hit. And maybe we could have done it a little better. Like, we could have done a phased opening nationally. And there are some parts of the country that didn't get affected initially because they were the rural parts, but now there are cases. There's the governor, I don't know whether it's South Dakota, she let a motorcycle rally happen there. Oh, yeah. And there are probably 400 cases from there. So we could have had a national
or something. It was called
Sturgis. Yes. So you keep more knowledge of what's going on here. But I personally think that locally a lot of businesses are getting affected. There's also a reverse side of the thing. You don't want to give freedom. They did this. But if we really, really had shut down everything nationally, because you shut down Michigan and you don't shut down the neighboring Ohio, or you shut down Ohio and don't shut down the neighboring Pennsylvania or Georgia, you are telling people not to wear masks. The South, a lot of governors said to people, don't wear masks. And even the president in a press conference said to a reporter, don't wear a mask. I don't want you to wear a mask. So if you are going to not have, because you can do a containment in one state, but people are traveling. People are still traveling. There is no checkpoints of people traveling. So it's not, yeah, it is a question that there's people are, because America loves its freedom. That is a
Yep.
true fact. America truly loves its freedom. But at the same time, America listens to, like, when we did this whole shutdown in the state, people listen. People shut down. A lot of industries got shut down, and as a result, they were affected too. So there has been a huge loss as a nation, and there has been a loss because when you think that you're going to open everything up because you want to have profits, your profits are more than people, and people are important, because what is profits without people? So if can you imagine that 2 lakh or 200,000 people in this country are not there anymore since January, since the beginning of this year? That is a lot of people.
Yeah.
That is, so
Yeah,
I
200.
think
That's, I mean, that's huge.
that is significant. That is high. Even I think I keep telling people in 6,500 in our own state, like probably 60 people in my own community here, local township. That is a death too many. That is a death too many. And I know, I understand the doctors and the nurses have done an amazing job in the situations they had faced. They didn't have enough protective wear, which is called the PPE. They didn't have this. They didn't have any of it, and it has been so hard. So when in March we did check-in calls with the community, and we connected 2 nursing homes. We spoke to 2 nurses. One works in the home health system, like she goes to people's homes, and one works in a nursing home for the elderly. And we connected each of these nursing homes or the businesses to 100 face shields from Ford Motor Company, because Ford was doing that. And people were very
personal
thankful.
influence. Personal influence with the Ford
No,
Motor.
you could still apply. It was Ford was, that was an open website, but my husband took the initiative, and we can talk about that more when we talk about politics and other things.
Yeah,
But
I think we need to move to
yeah.
politics, because that's the
Yes.
I think that clicks very quickly. I mean, when did you, or how did you got into politics? Because that's not something which I know we Indians like politics, we talk politics, but we generally
Well,
stay
if you
from
know
getting
me
into
from
it.
if you know me from college days, people always said I was the influencer in our LH for getting anybody elected as the president or the vice president or anything. So I was. So that is how I see myself. And then I came here, and I have worked with a lot of community events. I've volunteered in a lot of things. I was even the vice president and president of my Bengali organization, raising funds and organizing the biggest Durga Puja. Like I raised $45,000. I wouldn't say I personally raised it, but my organization raised $45,000, which was one of the biggest. We broke all records the year I was the president. And I think I did all of that, and I really didn't like, I love doing it. But when I started getting into getting involved in the political process, I really think I found my calling. And I got involved in 2008 when I got laid off 3 weeks before the election. I found a Obama for America office locally, and I went. And in those days, there was no cell phones. We used hand phone, desk phones, and I made phone calls to ask people to vote. And that was my first election I ever voted in this country as a citizen. And so then 2012, I got people registered to vote. When people become citizens, you have to get them registered to vote. I did that. I didn't get that much influenced, and I listened to debates, is really fingers crossed with Obama getting elected the second time. Then 2016, March, somebody in the local community called me, and she said, would you like to be the community leader for the Hillary campaign and just help with phone calls for Hillary during the primary? So I really didn't know anything about it. And, I started calling people, and I could get like probably 3 or 4 volunteers. And, Hillary lost Michigan. But I felt that I made some contribution to her election. And then slowly I started found my local Democratic club, and I started making phone calls. And that is when I met all the local candidates running for the local city level elections. And that is when I really understood. And there was an Indian gentleman who was running for our Congress, which is like the parliament in India. Yeah. So I met and he ran, but he lost that year in 2016. The only people that won a few elections was our local city people. So like out of the 7 people that they ran for our township board, probably 5 of them won, and the 2 people that did not win were South Asians. So both of them were Indian Americans. And so it felt, a lot of people said a lot of things like, they didn't, some people said they didn't put a lot of effort. Some people said, there was racism that came into picture because you cannot get, but our community, where I live locally, that is, it's a very immigrant, diverse population that's growing every day. We have a big South Asian population. We have a big Asian population in this community, and it's growing every day. So 2016, end of when, and everything happened, 2016, the day of election, my daughter came home from school, and for 2 hours, she made phone calls to ask people to go to vote. And then in the night at 2 a.m., she came down crying from her room saying, why are people so stupid? And that is when I decided I need to do more. I really need to do more. And I found a group of people, Indian Americans, and we formed a grassroots organization, and we call ourselves SAMOSA, which is South Asians in Michigan Organizing for Serious Action. And what we have done, we had to form a fun name. So we said, we will call ourselves South Asians. How do we take that? And Samosa has become very popular in the local community, and we have connected a lot of candidates to the Indian American community, to the South Asian community locally. If anybody wants to run, like my township, and there are few more townships where we connected local people to the candidates that were running. We did town halls. There were 5 candidates running for the Democratic primary for the Congress seat here, which is a parliamentary seat here. And I was the grassroots co-chair or the super volunteer for the women that won this race. Her name is Haley Stevens, and I was her grassroots co-chair. And it was really fun. It was really, really fun to do this. And we wrote postcards. We did a lot of postcard writing for races that are outside. But that is the first time I learned how to knock a door, because I was always afraid that somebody would say something nasty to me when I went and asked somebody's door, do you want to vote? And this is my candidate. And in 2017, one of my local friends from the neighboring community was running for the city council, and he taught me how to knock my first door. And after that, we have knocked a lot of doors. We got a lot of people elected. And last year, in 2018, we got the first generation Indian woman to be elected to our Michigan state legislature, which is, the state level government. Yeah, and she's an engineer from REC Warangal, and so she grew up in this country, went back to India, finished her engineering. She came here probably when she was 7 years, and then she came back again, and she was an engineer at Chrysler, and she got involved for 20 years in her community, and she won this election in a heavily Republican district. And that was a big deal for us. And there were a lot of other people that won a lot of elections in 2018, and we won. We got our Democratic governor, we got our Democratic Secretary of State who runs the elections, we got our Democratic Attorney General, who is probably the first LGBT women to get elected for that. So
you're running for Canton Trustee. Now, what exactly does that mean? I mean, let's put it in the context of, say, for the benefit of our friends in India and for somebody
Uh-huh.
like me, is this something like a municipal council?
Yes,
Is
yes,
that the
yes,
equivalent?
yeah. So basically, we have cities and we have townships. So cities are bigger than townships, but we are one of the biggest townships in Michigan. Like we are probably the third or fourth biggest townships in Michigan.
90,000
So
population, I believe.
a
I
hundred
checked
thousand.
100,000.
You check. It's
I
going to
checked on
100,000
Wikipedia.
now. Yeah. So basically, so cities have city councils, townships have boards. So city
Okay.
council have council members, just like we have councillors, corporators, or whatever you call it in municipal elections in India. And townships have board, and board has the supervisor, who is just like the mayor. There's a full-time position. And then we have the treasurer, who takes care of our taxes, our water bills, and things like that. And then we have the clerk, who conducts the elections, who is responsible for the city deeds. So these are the three full-time positions in our city. And we have 4 part-time trustees who form the local government, who are elected locally. And so what happens, they make decisions about where the funds should be going, where we need to have new programs, who should we hire for our recycling. We have small commissions within the city, like the planning commission or the historic commission, where we have a cultural group. And we have we also have something called the Canton Community Foundation, which has a lot of nonprofits start their own if they want to help the community. And but the township board is elected elected officials, and they make decisions on how the township should be run. So that is what I am running for. And if I get elected, I would be the first. Before this, there was only one gentleman, Dr. Taj. He's basically from Patna, India. And
Okay.
he was a trustee, and he ran, and he was the first South Asian trustee to win. And then this is, if I win this, I'm going to be the first South Asian immigrant, Asian, whatever you call women, to be on the board. So right now our board has 7 people, out of which we have 1 African American woman. And as a community which is 30% a diverse population, I think we need some representation from the community. And so that is the reason I am running for this election. And
Okay. Great.
and it has been a fun ride till now. It has some days. One of our congresswomen has told us one day when we met her, in a week, if you have decided twice, oh, this is a fun way to run the election, and 2 days later, if you have not, thought, why am I running? I should not be running, and doubted yourself, you are not running a good election. So according to her, I think I am running a good election, because I have this almost every day in my head, the ups and downs of, doing
Ebb and
something.
flow of an election campaign. Yeah. I mean,
It is.
I mean, you say it's fun. I mean, you look like you're really enjoying it, but I would imagine it's very stressful. I mean,
It is
I
very
don't.
stressful, because when we started to run this, I spoke to a few of my friends who have run in offices, and they told me it's going to cost me close to 20 if I have a primary. So I had a primary, which is the worst case scenario, is I have a primary. So you do run for both 2 times. You run within your party first, which was in August, and then if you win the primary, then you have a really small time within which you run for the general, and you have to win against the Republicans then. And so basically, 4 Republicans, 4 Democrats are running, and there are 4 seats. So I have to be the top 4 vote getter in this election in November. And it has been, yes, the day I started, I gave myself a $500 loan, and that's how I started this election. And till date, I have raised close to $35,000 just from friends, my classmates from college have helped me. I'll
Okay.
not mention their names, but
Sure.
some of them have been very generous. And my juniors from college have helped me.
Okay.
And my friends in the community have helped me. So I did a lot of work in the last 2 years, which got noticed. So a lot of people in the community think it's a good that I run and I win this. So it's a very grassroots campaign. I have had donors who have given me $5, and I have had donors who have given me, I have one donor, an Indian woman who runs her own company in Michigan. She gave me $2,000, which she maxed it out. So, so it has been. So that is just one part of the campaign, and then you have to, if you run as a Democrat, it's a very union-heavy state. We have a lot of unions. We have auto workers union. We have municipal workers union. We have roofers. We have carpenters. So you have to get union endorsements if you want to run as a Democrat. Even any literature that you print to send out, you have to get it printed through union endorsed printing press. So I have been very lucky to get a lot of labor support. And I have also been endorsed by the biggest environmental organization called the Sierra Club, because my campaign is about sustainability, building green spaces, building biking and walking paths in the community, and making the government more carbon neutral in the next 10 years. So
sounds like you're trying to transform Canton into Singapore. Or sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
So now there are people that are interested in that, because Canton is going at a very rapid pace, and we want to do it in a responsible way. We want to do it in a smart way. So and then another thing that I also wanted to talk about is this be a community which is a welcoming community for all. So basically, if you are, if you look different, if you sound different, if you worship differently, it should not be an issue in this community, and you should be welcomed. And in the last 15 years that I have lived in, people now are very, very used to having crackers, like firecrackers happening in Diwali. They know, like, if there's firecrackers in November, October timeframe, people know it's Diwali now, which was not there 15 or 20 years ago when we were trying to build a new temple within Canton, and some of the government trustees opposed this decision. So Canton has transformed greatly in the last 15 years, and as a transformative community, I would like to represent the community.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think all of us who have known you would hope that you do well and you win the election. I mean, we can always bask in reflected glory. We can say, I know her who fought an election in the US and won. I mean, so, well.
It's a lot of hard work working a full-time job and doing this. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, how have you been balancing all of this? I mean, that's really something which I keep wondering. I mean, it's
so if you ever want to run for office, you always first thing you need to ask is your family. That is what, when we did candidate training, that is the first thing they tell you, is ask your family, because it is important that your family supports you. If you don't get that, then it's very hard to run an election. And I have had the most supportive family. My husband probably has made 6,000 or 7,000 phone calls. He has knocked, because in COVID we couldn't knock doors, so he probably has dropped literature on 1,000 doors. He does this check-in calls and connected the community. And my daughter has written 3,000 postcards for me in the primary election. So, and she has helped me, as a Gen Z, she has helped me, or Gen Z, she has helped me. Yeah, Zen said she has helped me in how to manage my Instagram posts, or how to do a story. I didn't know how to do a story, so she helped me do a few things like that. And I think I can do them with a pretty good expertise. And so those are the things that I have had the support. And I have my ups and downs. Some days I'm a stressed up mess, and some days I am like the most jovial person, and they have handled this up and down in a lot of grace in this house, the Ganguly household. So that is the first thing. And then I learned a lot of things. I didn't do a good planning in the beginning, and then I had to hustle at the end and figure things out. But you know, uh, the whole the Indian concept of jugaad, the jugaad that comes to mind when we talk about running election. That really, really helps. So basically, there's a very you have heard of the musical called Hamilton, right? So in there's a line says, immigrants, we get the job done. So we hustle immigrants, we hustle harder. So in India, when you say jugaad, it's called hustle here. So
Yep.
there's a big word in Detroit says Detroit hustles harder. So the jugaad that you can do is like, you reach out, you have to shamelessly ask people for money, you have to shamelessly ask people to help you, to drop literature or, help with the phone bank. Sometimes you have to ask for endorsement from your local elected officials. And people have seen how I've handled this. Like, I've run a really strong campaign, and it's it it has worked out. And now I have a plan for the next few days. Sometimes I fall behind a few days, but then I pick up and I do it. But it has been an incredible journey till now. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we cross the finish line on November 3rd. I know with absentee voting, we probably will not know for a few days if we won or lost, but
So
really
when's the latest? November 5?
November 3rd is, so basically, since you can vote by mail now. So you sign up, and it's a very secure way. There's a process for it. You sign up and you say, I need an absentee ballot. So in the past.
Is it really secure, Tanya?
Yes, it is. No, I know. You have heard a lot of things from our president that it is not secure, but he votes by absentee ballot. So basically, before 2018 in this state, we had to have a reason that you wanted to vote absentee. If you are older, like if you're older than 65, you could do without a reason, because you can stay home and you can vote. And if you're not in town, you have to give a reason that you need a reason. But in 2018, we passed a proposal, and I collected signatures for that proposal. I was a volunteer for that proposal. It's called Proposal 3, and it's now you can do no reason absentee voting. So we have so you said 100,000 people in this community, right? So 65,000 of them can vote, like, our voting age. The rest are children. And out of that, 30,000 people have requested an absentee ballot. And you cannot, even though you go and deposit, it goes by mail, or you can deposit in the mail, in the drop box at the township hall, they will not open those ballots till election day. So imagine counting 30,000 ballots on election day. It will take time, and it's not counted. It is counted. So they have groups of people that count these ballots, and in every group there is a Democrat, there is a Republican, and there's another city official, and they all sit together and they count this ballot. And everybody has to say yes, 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 and that is when they pass the ballot, that everything is right on this ballot. And you have to sign the envelope. If you don't sign the envelope, your ballot is not valid. So they check your signature with the signature on the envelope. So there is a process of keeping this secure. And our Secretary of State, who is going to run the election, she has written the book on it, of how to run fair elections. Her name is Jocelyn Benson. Very cool woman. She runs marathons, and she is a graduate from Wellesley and Yale. And she worked in the Southern Poverty Law Center, I think, where she helped with voting rights in the South. So she has done a lot of work in this, and she has written a book about it. So it is possible to do it in a safe and secure way, unlike all the propaganda that you're going to hear about it from everybody possible. It is a process that is followed.
Well, I think we've gone
more than an hour. We said we'd go 20 minutes, and we are now more than an hour.
Last question, I guess, your thoughts on the US election? I mean, I wanted to talk a lot more because we've got a lot of friends, our college friends, Indian immigrants who are now in the US, and I'm quite, they're ardent supporters of the current president. And sitting here in Singapore, I'm quite surprised, to be honest, why that would be. Because, I mean, I thought President Trump is not a very popular man, I guess, but especially with immigrant communities. But, some of my Indian friends kind of give a different impression. They say he's a man of action. Now, you're from the opposite side of the spectrum. So let's end on your argument against the current president.
The current president.
Yeah.
Okay. So let us talk about it from an immigrant perspective, right? And so when you in India, when you elect your railway, when you have a railway minister, an education minister, any minister that you elect, they are elected by people, right? They are just elected by people. The cabinet is elected by people. The prime minister's cabinet is elected by people, and the prime minister takes the members of the parliament and he forms his cabinet. Here it is not like that. Here you elect the president and he selects his cabinet.
Yep.
So if you look at people that, as immigrants, we come to this community, we buy homes in this community. And the biggest factor that we use when we are buying a home in a community is the school district, because we send our kids to public schools. And our current education secretary is Betsy DeVos. She is from my state. She has destroyed our school system in this state. And she has not attended a single day of public school. She wants to take education funding from the entire public school and give it to private school, give it to religious schools. So first of all, if you are sending your kids to public schools in this country, to good public schools, you want them to have the funding. So if you are electing a president that employs people who are not really equipped to run the country, who has a cabinet that's not run the country, this is the cabinet that has seen the most turnaround. Like there's so many people that have left this cabinet, so many people that have got arrested or have been guilty of crimes, and we have seen so many people quit.
Yep.
I think probably, I don't even count how many press secretaries have changed hands, and I've stopped counting. And so we have seen all of this. So when we see this, we call him if you want to call him a man of action, just see how he has handled the COVID crisis. How has he handled it? We have
pretty good.
6.6. Yes, pretty good. I think it's 6.5 million cases now in the country, and I could be wrong, and then in the number that I'm quoting here, I was just looking at it, but it is really bad. Like, how can you, it is 6.5 million. It is close to 200,000 people dead and 6.5 million people affected. And if you're talking of him as a man of action, what has he done? You want to talk about what he has done. You see him hand holding Modi, and you think he's a great friend of our country. He has stopped immigration visas. The H-1 visas that come to this country, the H-1 visas that you have, the wives, they get to work under H-4, like they can apply for H-4 with EAD, because it is the hardest time for women on the H-4 visa or a spouse with an H-4 visa in this country to stay home, because they get this opportunity with something called an employment authorization document called EAD. He had cut it down. So a lot of people lost jobs as a reason of that. And then you are talking about handling of it. You cannot judge a person by how the Wall Street behaves. The Wall Street, you are looking at Wall Street saying, oh my God, my pension funds are going great. I am doing a great job, and you have a job. See the condition of medical condition in this country. If you don't have company insurance, your your employer doesn't give you insurance, you are going to, you cannot, you have bills, you have so many bills, and you cannot take care of things. Are you going to pay the bill, or are you going, the senior community, are you going to pay the bill, or are you going to take care of other things? He's cut down Medicare severely. So we have parents who come here. Some people have aged parents who get green cards and citizenships and come here. So when you say he's a man of action, I really haven't seen him really take actions that have had great consequences. If you're just going to look at the Wall Street, because as we sit here in this community, you have become a citizen of this country. You probably have bought a home in the suburbs of New Jersey or California or Michigan or Chicago, and you think that this person, that, you know, why are you here for? You are here because you have a great paying job. You want to have a good, good house to live in. Want to have a job that pays for your mortgage. You want to send your kids to the best public schools possible. And that is why you have bought a home there. And you really want to have the freedom. You really want to have the freedom. And if you see all the policies that have been written by Stephen Miller, who is in Trump's government, who is the only person who has not left the government in the last 4 years, he's the biggest white supremacist possible. He has written policy after policy after policy that has denounced our immigrants. So when you talk about that and you say, oh, okay, the next president is Biden is not going to do great things about the country. But Biden is moving towards progressive policies. There's a huge Indian American population in this country who love Biden, who really are working towards getting Biden elected. As I said to you, the Samosa group, there's a lot of people that help us. There is a group in California who call themselves They See Blue. So it's DESI, They See Blue, and then there's They See Blue. And they are really working on top to bottom to get things done. And if you're going to say that Obama was not a man of action, Obama had a Senate and a legislature only for 2 years as a majority. After that, he didn't have the majority. If you wants to get things done in this country, you have to have all levels of the government that represent you. You want to talk about this government, the president appoints the Supreme Court judges. If the Supreme Court judges are going to be heavily conservative, that affects our future of our children, the future of our education, the future of our civil rights. And if we are going to talk about, we have some implicit biases in our community. We'll look at the Black Lives Matter movement and we call it's not a movement worth pursuing. But we need to remember, when our parents or grandparents or the first Indian immigrants came into this country in the 60s, they came riding on the top of the Black community who worked really hard for the civil rights movement. So these are the reasons I think that this current president, he's not good for the immigrant community. He's not good. We have our jobs. We have our jobs because we have the privilege of a great education. And that is why we have our jobs. We have our medical insurance because we have our jobs. We can afford to live in good school districts. But if you're constantly, when you go out in the street and your president is constantly telling you, brown people are bad, only whites are the better people. How do you think that's a man of action? Just because it doesn't affect you personally, you're going to say that this person doesn't openly, what's the word? I'm forgetting. Openly promote racism? He does. And then when you're going down the street and you are going to say to this person, like the president doesn't wear a mask, so his followers don't wear a mask. After this election, if he wins this election and he says, we are going to kick out all the immigrants from this country who are taking our jobs. He has said that before. What are you going to do then? He can find a way to denaturalize our citizenships. Sorry, I went on a tirade here, but when people say...
You're kind of spoken like a passionate community leader.
Yeah, I am just, when you have a citizenship in this country, you need to, you have decided to raise your children in this country. And I personally feel that our Indian values don't align with the current president. Our Indian values of inclusive, if we are talking about the Hindu community over the hundreds of years have been the most inclusive community in India in the past. Like, you know, it has been, and we have seen that we believe in that. We believe in the nonviolence movement. And how can you appreciate a president who is supported by the NRA, who brings assault rifles to the state capitol to threaten people to open up a state in the middle of a pandemic? So I really don't understand. And he constantly criticizes our governor. He calls her that woman from Michigan.
Yeah.
He doesn't even give her the dignity of calling her the governor. So, and he has constantly derogated women. So if you have some of your friends, if they think that this president is good for their daughters, then I would say go ahead and vote for him.
Well, I would love to have a conference call with all of you in the same Zoom call.
Yeah, and there is a lot of propaganda that's happening in the WhatsApp groups. Yep. There is a lot of propaganda happens, and if you are looking at those propagandas, a lot of that is promoted by Russian bots. And you know, they know that this is the South Asian, the Indian American population is the Indian American population, or the Asian American population is the biggest like growing voting community in this country. And if we sit down at homes and if we are going to say this election is not going to affect me, I am sorry, you are wrong. It will affect you. It will affect your children's education. It will affect your jobs in the next 10 years.
So Tania, final question. Do you see a blue White House this November?
Well, if everybody works towards it, if everybody doesn't sit in their homes, if everybody applies for an absentee ballot or vote by mail, thinking that the most secure way of doing it, we will see a blue wave. And if everyone thinks that they are voting on their values, if you think you are voting on your values, you think, and we cannot sit at home. We have to work hard and hard and hard. This is not going to be an easy election. There's a lot of propaganda that's going to happen. In October, something interesting will come out against Biden, promoted by Putin from Russia. And we are going to follow that. And that is the way, you know, we lost Michigan by 10,000 votes for Hillary. And that is basically every, like, you know, in, how do you call it, in a town, in a city in India, you have different wards, right? Like wards in a different city. So it's 2 votes per precinct, which is 2 votes per ward. So if 2 more people had voted for him. So I personally am going to work the hardest and make sure at least Canton is blue. And we vote for this. We vote for a Democratic president. We vote for a Democratic congresswoman. We vote for a Democratic senator. We vote for a Democratic state representative. My state representative, if he's going to get elected, he's going to be the first Sikh American on the state legislature. His name is Ranjiv Puri, and he's a 2nd-generation immigrant. And we want to see these diversities, because Trump's cabinet, Trump's followers don't represent true America. That's all I'm going to say.
Great. Well, thanks, Tania. Thanks for your time. Thanks for...
This was fun, but thank you for letting me speak.
Yeah.
I could have gone on for a couple more hours with you, but I think this is all people want to hear. Probably, I don't know how you're going to make people listen to an hour-long conversation.
Well, let's see. We'll put it out there. I'm not going to spend a lot of time editing it, but let's put it out there and see. Hopefully, you know, at least people would see the two of us having a long conversation, I guess. And
Yes,
parts of
yes.
it would
And one day I would love to have a conversation with you about understanding, you still have your passion for cricket, you're
Yep.
still writing about things. And I would love to have a conversation where I am not the person, I want you to be the interviewee and not the interviewer. So let's do that sometimes once after the election.
Sure. All the best, Tanya. And I'll just pause recording. Yeah.
Okay.